You've been approaching personal growth completely wrong. While everyone else is adding more habits, reading more books, and consuming more content, I discovered something that changed everything. The most powerful transformations don't come from what you add to your life. They come from what you strategically remove. I'm about to show you the identity reset process that took me from 7 years of spinning my wheels to completely reconstructing who I am in just 90 days. Your brain has constructed an invisible prison around who you think you are, and right now, it's actively sabotaging every single attempt you make to change. This isn't some metaphorical concept I'm throwing around to sound profound. This is identity homeostasis, a documented neurological process where your brain literally fights to maintain your current sense of self, even when you consciously want to become someone different. Think of your brain like a thermostat in your house. When the temperature drops below the set point, the heating system kicks in automatically. When it gets too warm, the cooling system activates. Your identity works exactly the same way. The moment you try to step outside your established patterns, your neural pathways trigger automatic responses to pull you back to your identity baseline. This happens without your conscious awareness or permission. Here's where traditional self-improvement gets it catastrophically wrong. When you try to add new habits, positive thinking, or different behaviors on top of your existing identity structure, you create massive internal conflict. You're essentially trying to heat and cool the house at the same time. Your morning meditation practice clashes with your identity as someone who's always stressed. Your new workout routine fights against your self-concept as someone who isn't athletic. This internal warfare exhausts your willpower and guarantees eventual failure. Environmental triggers constantly reinforce these existing neural patterns without you even noticing. The chair where you always sit while scrolling your phone sends signals to your brain about who you are. The route you take to work activates specific identity networks. The people you interact with daily reflect back your established patterns of behavior. Your brain processes thousands of these micro cues throughout the day, each one strengthening the neural pathways that define your current identity. This explains why you can maintain new habits for 3 weeks, 3 months, or even longer, but eventually snap back to your original patterns. The foundation never changed. You built a beautiful new house on a cracked foundation, and eventually the structure collapsed. Your identity operates like a rubber band. You can stretch it temporarily, but it will always snap back to its original shape unless you fundamentally alter the material itself. Social expectations act as powerful identity anchors, constantly pulling you back to who you used to be. Your family sees you as the person you've always been. Your friends expect certain responses from you. Your coworkers interact with you based on established patterns. Even when you genuinely want to change, these social forces create enormous pressure to remain consistent with your past behavior. Breaking character feels uncomfortable for everyone involved. Most people never realize they're living someone else's version of who they should be. Your parents' expectations, society's definitions of success, cultural programming about what's appropriate for your age, gender, or background. These external definitions become internalized as your identity, but they were never actually yours to begin with. You're trapped in a prison built by other people's opinions and expectations, defending walls that were constructed before you were old enough to question them. The uncomfortable truth is that your current identity is a collection of habits, beliefs, and patterns that served a purpose at some point, but may no longer align with who you want to become. That anxious part of you developed as protection during childhood. That procrastinating part emerged to avoid potential failure. These identity components had survival value once, but now they're keeping you small. Breaking free requires understanding the specific mechanics of identity homeostasis. Your brain will resist change through predictable patterns. It will create excuses, generate negative emotions, and manufacture crises to pull you back to familiar territory. It will make the new feel dangerous and the old feel safe, even when your current identity is causing you suffering. Subtraction beats addition every single time because removal eliminates the source of conflicting signals. Instead of fighting against your existing identity while trying to build a new one, you create space by removing the environmental triggers, social influences, and daily patterns that reinforce who you currently are. True transformation requires strategic dismantling before any rebuilding can begin. You can't renovate a house while people are still living in it. You need to temporarily vacate the premises, tear down what isn't serving you, and construct something entirely new on a solid foundation. Here's something that will completely change how you think about transformation. Every major identity shift in history happened when someone completely disappeared from their old life before emerging as someone entirely new. Steve Jobs didn't gradually become a visionary while staying at Atari. He disappeared to India, stripped away everything familiar, and returned as a different person. The Buddha didn't achieve enlightenment while maintaining his princely lifestyle. He abandoned his palace, his identity, his entire world. Strategic disappearance isn't just helpful for transformation. It's absolutely necessary. Strategic disappearance is a systematic process with 3 distinct phases that each serve a specific purpose. Disconnection removes the environmental and social triggers reinforcing your current identity. Reconstruction builds new patterns and connections that support who you want to become. Integration allows you to re-enter your previous world while maintaining your new identity structure. Most people skip the first phase entirely and wonder why their transformation attempts fail. The common belief that gradual change is safer is actually what's keeping you trapped. When you try to change slowly while staying embedded in your current environment, you create constant internal conflict. Your new behaviors fight against established patterns. Your desired identity clashes with social expectations. Your brain receives mixed signals and defaults to the familiar. Partial transformation guarantees failure because you're trying to become someone new while everything around you reinforces who you used to be. Phase 1 requires complete disconnection from environmental triggers, social influences, and physical spaces that reinforce your current patterns. This means changing where you work, how you spend your time, and who you interact with daily. If you're trying to become more disciplined but you're still sitting in the same chair where you've procrastinated for years, that chair sends signals to your brain about who you are. If you want to become more confident but you're still hanging around people who see you as insecure, their expectations will pull you back to old patterns. Changing your physical environment creates the necessary vacuum for identity shift. Move your furniture around. Work from different locations. Take new routes to familiar places. Change your morning routine completely. Alter when you eat, where you eat, what you eat. These might seem like small changes, but they disrupt the automated neural pathways that maintain your current identity. Your brain suddenly has to create new patterns instead of running on autopilot. Your social circles require the most dramatic intervention. The people around you have invested years in seeing you as a specific type of person. When you try to change, they unconsciously resist because your transformation threatens their own identity stability. You need to temporarily distance yourself from relationships that reinforce your old patterns and deliberately seek out people who already embody the identity you want to develop. Phase 2 involves designing new environments and social connections that automatically support your desired identity. This isn't about willpower or discipline. This is about creating conditions where your new identity becomes the path of least resistance. If you want to become someone who exercises regularly, you arrange your environment so that working out is easier than not working out. You join communities where fitness is the norm, not the exception. Identity anchors are specific daily practices and environmental cues that reinforce your new self-concept at the subconscious level. These might include new morning rituals that remind you of who you're becoming, physical objects that represent your desired identity, or daily practices that align with your future self. The key is making these anchors automatic rather than dependent on motivation or memory. Phase 3 addresses the delicate process of integration. After 60 days of disconnection and reconstruction, you gradually re-enter your previous world while maintaining your new identity structure. This phase requires careful management because familiar environments and relationships will immediately pressure you to revert to old patterns. You return with clear boundaries and specific strategies for maintaining your transformation. The complete timeline spans 90 days because this is the critical window for identity transformation. Days 1 through 30 focus on disconnection and initial reconstruction. Your brain will resist heavily during this period. Days 31 through 60 involve deeper reconstruction and identity anchor installation. Days 61 through 90 require careful integration and boundary establishment as you re-engage with your previous life. This process involves significant discomfort and uncertainty because you're dismantling familiar identity structures that have provided security, even if they've also limited your potential. Your potential isn't being wasted because you lack discipline or motivation. It's being wasted because you're trying to build a new identity on top of an old foundation that will never support it. Every habit you add, every goal you set, every positive change you attempt fights against the neural pathways that define who you currently are. Stop adding more to your life. Start strategically removing what's keeping you trapped in identity homeostasis. Remove the environmental triggers, the social influences, the daily patterns that reinforce your current limitations. What would you become if you had the courage to strategically disappear from who you are right now?